Hi, this is Robyn Buckley at the Law Offices of Jason Taylor, and thank you for tuning in to Speaking Truth to Power. If this is your first time, welcome. We're glad to have you aboard. If you have tuned in before, thanks for coming back. I'm here today. I am one of the lawyers who is going to talk about dash cams. I handle mostly a lot of motor vehicle accidents here at the firm, and so dash cams are something that not a lot of people may know about or have, but they are an excellent kind of offense to have in your car. They're very small. They're very tiny. I have one here. We have one in all our cars in our house. And that's because, little personal story here, back before my husband and I were married, he didn't want to believe me in the advice that I was giving him. And he had an old Toyota Corolla, and he said, "Oh, well, it's so old, I'm not even going to carry collision coverage on it." And I said, "You really should, because in North Carolina, we have something called contributory negligence. And that means if the insurance company finds that you are 1% at fault for causing the accident, you get nothing." It is a very harsh rule, and one that we have to face and deal with more often than you might think. So the dash cams, in this particular situation, my husband was driving on Interstate 77 here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he was driving along. It was night, and there was a car that was stalled on the interstate, and it was dark, so the car did not have any lights on. The battery was dead, and unfortunately, he ended up rear-ending the car with the lights out. Now, you may say, how is that his fault? Well, the insurance company decided that it was his fault because if he would have been keeping a proper lookout, that he would have been able to avoid the car. Now, there's a lot of things that could come into play here. We have the distance of the headlights. We have the amount of traffic on the other lanes beside you. How long had the car been stopped there? There's all kinds of factors. And if he had had a dash cam in his car, that would have gone a long way to showing his sight distance and things like that that could have stopped. Now, the insurance, thankfully he wasn't injured, but the insurance company denied his claim. That meant that they weren't going to pay for his car, either to be repaired, or in his case, it was probably a total loss. So that was something that he learned the hard way. I'm hoping that you can take some of this advice that we give here today, and you can hopefully avoid something like this happening in the future. There's actually a lot of instances that happen that we either cannot take a case because the chances of being able to overcome the liability issue, which again could just be something as simple as a he said, she said. But if the damages aren't there, one of these dash cams, again, they're so tiny and compact, and I've done a little bit of research in them. You can get them for anywhere as low as $35 to $40, all the way up to some higher end ones that are over $100. But the little ones, I think this one in particular, is just, not very expensive, and certainly less expensive than what your insurance collision deductible might be. They have two different kinds. They have some that only face forward, and then they have others that are called dual facing. Those both show what's happening in front of you and what's happening either interiorly or behind you. So for those, again, same price range. The ones that I saw that was down in the 35-40% or $30 range, those were actually dual facing as well. So you don't have to spend a lot of money. And it can go a long way towards saving you a lot of money in the long run. Another example where we see a lot of contributory negligence allegations are with people who are making left turns. Now, you may say, well, I have a green light. Somebody turns left in front of me. It's obviously their fault. Now, they may still be negligent. That may not be the issue. The issue may be that you are contributory negligent. And sometimes it can be very hard to see our own flaws and faults, and may not want to see, well, maybe I could have done something differently. And if you have this dash cam, it is an objective. It's not about what you think or what you believe. It's about what happened. Those are cold, hard facts that the insurance company or even the police officer on the scene can look at to help make a determination. In fact, we had a recent client who had a dash cam in their car, and it was a kind of one of those same things. It was a he said, she said. She had a green light, and the other car said they had the green arrow who was turning, and the dash cam was able to show, no, this isn't a he said, she said. This is actually what happened. And then therefore our client was able to forego the whole liability issue, and we were able to focus more on the damages aspect, which is the injuries. So those things can be helpful, because in a case like that, if there are no witnesses, if there's no one who stops to help or say, yes, I saw this, those can be very difficult, and a lot of lawyers may not want to take a case like that. So when you have the evidence that is objective, meaning that there's not a question about, well, maybe she saw this or how far back you was, it's all on the dash cam. So we think that dash cams are something that everybody should have in their car. Imagine your poor grandmother out there, and she's driving along, and a kid, 25-year-old kid, is changing lanes, and he says that she tried to change lanes into him. Again, that's a he said, she said. But if your grandmother has a dash cam in her car, she can show that she was going straight and never attempted to change lanes. And that takes any question out of it, and your grandmother is hopefully not injured. But if she is, she can call someone here at the law offices of Jason Taylor, and we can help.